welcome to another episode of Woman Witness TV, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Today, I have a very special topic for you. And of course, we all know that this is a platform where we bring to you voices of women who are out there making a positive impact and making a difference in their lives and the community around them. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm going to be introducing you to an international visual artist. Her name is Asia Moon, and she is going to tell us what she has been up to in the streets of DC. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce to you my guest today, Asia. Hey, Asia, welcome to the well. How are you, girl?
Hey, Leah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much for being here, for coming in to share your story. And Asia, I told you this at the beginning of our conversation, but now that we press record and it is in play, I want to just tell you how much of a fan I am of your work. Your work, amazing, beautiful, so much detail, and it's not like any other. So I just want to point that out to you, and I just love what you do, and I cannot wait for you to tell us more about your work and the different things that you are doing in out there in your neighborhood and surrounding.
So, interestingly enough, I've only been painting since the pandemic. I didn't start in elementary school or high school. It was never one of my, lifelong dreams to become a visual artist or a painter. I never knew that I had this talent until the pandemic. One day, my husband and I, we went to Hobby Lobby and they had a bunch of paint on sale because they had just reopened after all of the stores had been closed for 6, 8 weeks or so. It was like 35 cents and it was just hard to pass up. And I painted like one painting, like maybe the next day. I painted 22 paintings in like 30 days after that. And it was just painting after painting after painting. I don't know where my husband was. I don't know where the kid was. I was just me and a canvas and a paintbrush, just working it all out.
What was the first thing you painted?
So the first thing I painted was I followed a YouTube video where this lady created like dripping lips. And it was like rainbow colored and it was just so colorful and it was so vibrant and it was some, different types of techniques. And it was so interesting and I was so calm. It was so relaxing. I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. I was like, this is so awesome.
Be kidding me. Asia, no, you didn't do it as a child.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I don't, okay. Oh, gosh. Okay. Did you grow up around it?
My father is a musician, and he's a very, very talented musician. So I did grow up with music. Music is a language
It is
between
absolutely.
especially between my father and I. It's the way that we communicate.
Yeah.
Things that words kind of like it transcends time and space. And
Yeah.
so when words fail, music always kind of fills the space. Being around that type of artistry, I think, is one of my biggest inspirations per se. But in terms of like being around a bunch of visual artists and painters and being exposed to this lifestyle, not so much, not at all. This is completely new, completely new.
I, I'm taken back by it. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even know where to start. I mean, that just takes away half of all my questions. Because I'm like, okay, tell us about how you got into it. What are some of the colors? But okay, so that's very interesting, and I think, and it's interesting that you found this talent during the pandemic. And I believe, and I'm just going to say this real quick. I won't spend a lot of time here on it, but I do believe, Asia, that during that time where we were all forced to sit down and just be quiet and be still, I believe that we found God already put certain things within us, and we found this hidden talent that God was like, "Come, it's time to come out now."
Yeah, I for sure agree. I
Mm,
believe that there was so many gifts that we
mm,
had. It feels like a big box of gifts, right? This was like kind of given to me, and all I'm doing now is opening the box, opening each gift, and going through the entire box of that gift. And then
mm.
once that is like I get to the bottom of that, then I open the next box and get to the and figure out well what else is in here, what else is there? Because if this was in dormant for 33 years, I can't imagine what else is available to me or at my disposal, what other gifts exist.
That's insane. I have goosebumps right now. That is insane. And I love the way that you unpack that. And I want everybody, if you're listening right now, just think about what Asia just said. I thought that was so powerful. It reminds me of, if I hear you correctly, I did this for a gender reveal for my kids, and it was my last baby, and I put a bunch of gifts, and I started off with a big giant box, and inside the box was another box and another box, down to like a little tiny little box that they finally opened and seen that it was a boy. The fifth boy. So surprise. So so I totally get what you're saying. And it's interesting, if we were to actually look at the gifts that God put inside of us like that, all we got to do is keep unpacking it. That was deep. I need everybody to sit with that real quick. Okay, Asia, you just threw me for a loop. I just want to ask you, what type of music does your dad do? Does he sing?
Oh man. So my dad is an instrumentalist. He plays virtually every instrument you can name, from percussion instruments to brass, woodwind,
Wow.
string instruments. Like he's super, super talented. And so because of that, we had a very diverse exposure to music. Everything from Shaka Khan
Yeah.
to Earth, Wind, and Fire, P Funk All Stars, India Ari.
Mm.
Jill, my father and I discovered Jill Scott together. Like
Oh.
back when she was on Hidden Beach. So
Oh.
it was really interesting the way that we, kind of traversed through music together. We did Gucci Man, all the way through. You name
Yeah.
it, we listened to it. So yeah.
That is so interesting. I love that. I actually grew up, I had a huge love for the Temptations. Anything Motown, that was me. I mean, if you wanted to make me happy, get me Motown. And that, yeah, so I love that. So what did you end up doing? Did you end up playing an instrument? Did you end up singing, dancing? I mean, singing, right, rapping, playing an instrument yourself?
When I was probably like 3 or 4, my dad made me like sing this song, like rap this song, and it was like the cutest thing in the world. But music career was not for me. My dad taught me how to play a handful of instruments, but it just none of it ever really stuck. I was a choir kid in middle school, but then that didn't really stick either. I was more of an athlete. I was
Yeah.
more interested in the running around and the sweating and the being a part of a team kind of thing. Band wasn't really for me. I was definitely leaning more on the athletic side of things.
Very interesting. And here you are. I Okay, let me don't get ahead of myself. Okay, Asia, I want you to tell us about, you created 100-foot mural in DC, and you sought out to highlight 32 individuals, which made a significant contribution in the area, in the surrounding areas to the site that you created. So can you tell us a little bit about this journey?
Yes, and I can only tell a little bit because all of
Oh,
it's not fully official. So everything that you said is like just about all that I can say.
oh,
But I
okay.
can talk about the process and I can talk about what the idea was. This project came along, and I'm really, really honored. I'm really, really grateful to be working on this and to be like toward the end
Yeah.
of this is very exciting because it's been about 6 months or so. I've been working on this project. This is my first public permanent art commission, so I'm really excited about it. I was commissioned to create a digital design for a 100-foot fence, and there was the only concept or idea that was presented to me was historical reference.
Mm,
And so at first I was like, well, I don't want to put a bunch of faces,
right.
on this piece because whatever. And I was working with another colleague, and he said, "But you're a portrait artist. This is what you do. And so why wouldn't you do what you do?" And I was like, "Well,
Right.
that makes sense." And I just went to work. And so I started digging into the history of that particular location in DC, which has to remain unnamed.
Oh,
But
man, you know I'm gonna ask.
I
Oh,
started digging into the history, and going way back into like the late 1800s, like really like digging. I wanted to see what was available to me, and in this process, I guess, I became somewhat of an art historian. So I'm really digging into the people that have made significant contributions, what the contributions were. So what I was able to do was, in terms of space,
yeah.
I was able to highlight 32 people because the the design, it's actually two designs that overlap. So it's so complicated, but it's really dope. So
No, I'm,
it's two designs that actually overlap. And so I was able to highlight men and women, 16 each. And that was a hard list to make because I researched over 70 people and wrote biographical statements for about 50 of them. And so I narrowed the list down to 32 just for visual purposes, you know, because you just don't want to jumble it up. You want to give everybody their own space.
right.
And so once I got the list of 32 people down, I broke the list down into people who I was honoring posthumously, people who had already passed, and then people who were still alive. And I started reaching out to the people who were still alive. And what I didn't realize until I had gotten to the part of reaching out to people was I wasn't asking them if I could use their likeness. I was honestly asking them, can I honor you in this way? And the response was overwhelming. It was overwhelmingly yes. It was like, absolutely yes, please. This is amazing. Thank you. It's an honor to be considered for this. It was crazy. And I'm reading their bios and I'm writing this biographical statement like, this person has done all of this stuff. This is so amazing. And so I was able to really get a deep dive into who these people were. They were so keen on sharing and discussing, and they wanted to be a part of it. And so it's really, really beautiful. And I'm
Wow.
so excited. So, so excited.
Wow. Asia, that is so incredible. I love the backdrop. I love the history. I love that the fact that you actually get to dive in and do the research and strategically pick and choose these people to highlight. And what an honor. I think, I mean, if somebody was to do that for me, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, you won't get a no out of me. Um, can you just describe the process a little bit? How long did it take you? And I know you said this is probably within a 6 month span, right? So how long did it take you, and what were some of the major challenges you faced during this process?
So it took about 6 months from the time of the initial conversation about the commission until, let's say, today. But the actual work, like putting together the design and kind of narrowing down like who I wanted to see on this mural, took 19 days. That was it.
You already knew.
Yes and no, to a certain
Yeah.
extent. I think I was like 50% of the way clear about like who I wanted to see and what I wanted to honor. I'm going to reference a story that an experience that I had in art school. And when I was in art school, I had a white male teacher who consistently referred to me as a Black female fine artist. And I didn't really know how to take that because in other circles that I've shared,
Right.
being referred to as a Black anything isn't always a great thing. But what I came to understand was that his reference was saying, I see you and I see your work, and I think your work is as good as, if not better than, these other women. So he was comparing me to a host of other Black female fine artists to say, find your voice, you're just as good. And with that, I was able to really just dig into like the signature style and just be able to, figure out like what I wanted to see. And what I learned was that Black people in the arts, they have a different spice, they have a different cinnamon, they have a different nutmeg. Like there's a different kind of sprinkle that exists. And in this project, this big mural project, the sprinkle was diversity. The sprinkle was a way for me to honor different parts of DC culture, including religious culture, political culture. But I also honored different races and ethnicities. I honored their heritage. I honored their lineage, the things that they have experienced here in DC. And then I was also able to honor the LGBTQ community as well, to be able to bring this to the forefront and to see so many different cultures and so many different contributions to culture highlighted in this space. In some ways, it feels like something that a Black woman would for sure do, for sure.
Yeah, because and I completely hear what you're saying. You're able to see things. I believe we are able to see things differently or see things from our lens. So for people who are not familiar with walking in our skin and being and seeing some of the things that we have been through, some of the things that we have gone through, and just knowing who we are as a people, you're actually able to be able to put it on forefront so others can see.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the Black experience being so oppressed, but there's
Yeah.
a part of the Black experience where through the things that we've experienced, we're able to highlight
Yeah.
good and beauty, and
Yeah.
there's a glitter and a radiance
Yeah.
that exists. And I wanted to see more of that. As an artist, your goal is to put out into the world whatever you feel like is missing.
Correct.
And this narrative of this radiance and this glitter is what I want to see more of.
I like that, Asia. I absolutely like that. When I wrote my first book, I wrote my first book. It was called Little Boy. It is called Little Boy and Little Girl's Treasure Chest. It was two books, and I wrote it one because I wanted to tell my children a story about how to respect their bodies and how to, treasure who they are and what they have. I made the characters look like them. I wanted them to see themselves, and I wanted the story to be relatable so they can see it's not just a kid, it's not just what you see on the day-to-day basis, but this belongs to you too. This, you are treasure. And which is why, so I completely understand. And I love the fact that there are more artists that are out there doing that, whether you're writing a book, whether you're doing a 100-foot mural, and bringing forth the truth from your eyes.
Yes, yes. Our
I
stories
love,
need to be told in a way that is
I love
uplifting and highlighting, as opposed to the ways, the narratives, the propaganda, the way that media even twists a lot of these stories and narratives. There's a lot of radiance, and they need to be highlighted and amplified in a way that, glorifies the journey and glorifies the process of coming out of and going into something much more beautiful.
I love it. I could take that and run so far with it. I really can. I really can. And I'll say this, and then I'll move on. It is a story that needs to be told, that creates our history, right? That when young children look back at it, same when our kids go to museums and they see all kinds of different things, which is wonderful, great, right? I believe history is important. It doesn't matter whose history it is, it needs to be told. And it's even more special for me being a Black woman when we are able to see more of our history, more legacy that's being left for our children and others to experience. I love it, Asia. I'm trying to tell you, there's nothing that gets me more excited. Not just seeing people that look like me, but seeing people that look like everybody. I love diversity. I love seeing something for everyone, and that's what it's all about. I'm looking at. Let's just stop and pause. Looking at the picture right behind you, the ones behind you. I can relate to that just as well. I'm sure that anyone of any race or any color or any background can relate to it. You
Yeah, the
see,
overarching goal is to be able to make impact on a soul level. We have all of these filters, these human filters,
yeah,
and all of these different things that inform us of who we are. But who
yeah.
we are innately, it never changes. It never changes. And so if we're able to connect on that level, it changes things. And I've found that art really does that. It really does. It really transcends all of the filters that we've created, and all of the narratives that we've told ourselves about ourselves. Yeah, for sure.
Asia, you're on it, girl. You are on it. You are on it. You're on it. What impact do you hope that this mural will have on the community and individuals being featured in it?
Wow, that's a really good question. There's a mix. Like the mural is a mix of male, female, old, young, living, not living. And so I think the impact, or what I want people to really take from this, is there's a space for me. There's a space for me. Wherever I want to go, wherever I desire to go, whatever it is that I'm trying to do, there's a space that's already carved out for me in an effort to do the thing that I'm supposed to do. Wherever I'm supposed to go, that's where I'm supposed to go. And there's a space for me there. I had to
That's
think about it.
I know, but I felt that, Asia. I felt that from the heart. I felt that from your heart, and I completely understand. And I think that's what it's all about. Can I see myself on this wall? Doesn't matter how young I am. Whether I feel like what, my life has passed me by, but if I can see that this person did it, and you created that, and you brought it to that mural, I believe that what, I can do it too. Okay, you're gonna make me go get all emotional. That was so okay. If you don't mind me asking, if you want to share, you don't have to, but in terms of like logistics and budget, how did you secure the resources needed to create this mural? And were there any sponsorships or partnerships involved, and can still people still donate?
So actually, because this mural was digital, I'm just the artist. I create the digital design, and then another company will actually fabricate the design onto vinyl and be putting this up onto the wall or the fence. This was free of charge for me to create.
Wow.
What a blessing.
What
Like, what a blessing.
it is such a blessing. And I'm going to tell you something. Whoever had the vision and whoever the drive behind it is, I feel their vision, and I see it being so much larger and being able to touch so many others. Even I'm pretty sure there's like some type of nonprofit or something behind it where people can still donate to it, where you can get young children involved in their art programs to come in and create, which I'm sure that's, they have something like that in the works. But I can just see the reach being so great, so grand. And I love the opportunity, and I love the thought of, and even if this is just one of many projects that you do in the future, where people can start sponsoring into that.
Yeah, I love the idea of being able to expand resources, because the more resources, the better your reach. And I think if there was one way that I would want to make impact, especially in the community or with the youth, is to give people the tools, not necessarily create something like this for themselves or create an opportunity for themselves, but long before these larger doors begin to open, you have to be able to open the doors for yourself. And so the resources, and increasing the reach, would be in an effort to really teach people how to trust themselves, how to not doubt themselves, how to believe that whatever, again, there's a space for you. Wherever you're trying to go, whatever you want to do, there's a space for you, and giving them the tools to reinforce that.
You spoke about you going up to some of the people who you've chosen who are still out here, making a positive difference in walking in the roles, and you said that they were extremely honored. How did you Can you just walk us through, how did you approach them in that situation? How did that go? How did you have any hesitation or reservation?
It was just a part of the process. I knew that this was necessary, and I freaked out a little bit because I just felt like I'm this small fish in this big pond, and all of these people have all of these degrees and accolades and awards and things like that. But I had to remember that they're people,
Hmm.
and that in order for this project to go forward, that this was a very necessary step. And so, just trying to have balance of understanding, like, I'm a little nervous, I'm a little afraid, but this is also very necessary, and I'm responsible for this. It kind of was the driving force. So what I did was I just sent an email, and I like scoured the internet for some of these people's email addresses, and I had to make phone calls to this organization to connect them to this organization to get in touch with this person.
That's
And
amazing.
I did a series of emails, and then I had to do a series of phone calls. And so it was no like one way. Some people responded in email right away, and some people I had to make a phone call and schedule a time, and then some people there was like an email traffic back and forth. We had a long conversation about it.
Yeah.
And so it was varying. I had a varying approach to this, because each person was different. Each person had a different schedule. Each person had a different workload. There was no person that was like, no, that's stupid, I'm not doing it. Everybody was like, yeah, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so dope. You did what? That's crazy. That's a lot of work. Like, how did you do this? They were equally as interested in the work as, of course, I had been up until this point. So it was the overwhelming like the way that I was received was just so beautiful. But yeah, it was a lot of groundwork, phone
Oh,
calls,
I know.
emails. Yeah, it was a lot of groundwork. Yeah.
Okay, I love that so much, Asia. That just lets us know, and I love the fact that you broke it down to just being human. Even you had reservations about calling and getting in touch with these people, but you did it. So that just lets us know that it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. If you have an idea and you have that driving force behind you, go do it. Knock on their doors. What else? What's the worst that they can say?
Yeah, yeah,
Don't get lost.
exactly. I mean, if you say no, then again, I researched 70 people. There was a contingency plan if
Yeah,
I couldn't get in touch with the person, or if they were like, no, I'm not interested, or this is just too big for me. I'm not, whatever if there
yeah.
was any adverse response to this, I did have a contingency plan. And I think that gave me like a little safety net, a little bit,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
move forward. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Once you have completed your part of the mural, right? How did you go about, or how will you go about promoting it to the public on your part? Is there any specific marketing strategy or event that's organized to present it to everyone?
Yes. So I am the absolute worst when it comes to marketing and promotion. I am terrible. I will show
What?
up. I will show up to the event. I will do all the groundwork, do all the research. I'll make all the phone calls, pay the whatever, right? But you want me to post it on social media? I'm not that girl.
Oh
It's
my
just
goodness.
terrible. So therefore, I am not taking lead on the promotion for this at all. The company that I was promoted, I mean, I'm sorry, commissioned by, this is all their thing. And
Got
so
it.
there will be a giant, because this is adjacent to another big project. This is like a small piece of the big project that they have going on. And so the project is set to be completed in June timeframe with no date set, but there will be a celebration from what I've been told in meetings, and they will promote it. I will share it.
Okay. So be on the lookout for the share is what you're telling us.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because that is not my strength at all. I wish it was. I wish I could do better. My goal is to do better. I promise, but oh
Don't worry.
Lord
You
have
know what?
mercy.
Hold on. I have a very good mentor, a friend who told me before, don't worry about the things that you are not proficient in. That's why you hire people or you partner with people who can pick up some of your weaknesses if they
Yes,
are strong in those areas. Okay?
yes, yes.
Look,
You want me to make it to create art? Yes, sure, 100%. I
got
got you. You want me to tell other people about it? Mm-mm,
it.
no.
Got to get somebody else for
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
That's what it's all about. Okay. Can you give some advice to any aspiring artists who would want to create something as impactful as a mural that you're doing, or do anything in the public arts area or realm? What would you give them? What advice would you give that young girl, that young little boy?
That is a great question, and I have a quite an extensive answer for that.
Let's.
Um, So when I first started painting, all of my friends and everything was like, you need to sell your artwork. And I was like, no. And
Mm,
they were like, why? You can make so much money. I don't care. I'm
mm,
not concerned with that. And initially, I had this notion that when you sell your artwork to a collector, right, or you put your artwork in a gallery, it's locked away. The only people that can see it are the people that bought it, and maybe if the person has guests over or whatever. And that just wasn't enough exposure for me.
mm,
And so it wasn't very appealing to have gallery representation, to be in galleries, to be able to sell my art. You know, some people, I have artist friends who have an extensive collector's list, and that's how they, move their art. And I love that for them. That's their choice. But it's not, I'll do a few and I'll take some commissions, but overall, public art is really where I want to see my art exist. I think that art should be free. I think the inspiration should be free. I think that especially permanent public art, I really think that people should be able to have that. Art is for the people, and this is a conversation that I have very consistently, over and over again whenever I talk about art or what my goals are. I've had
mm.
my art in a train tunnel in Barcelona. I've had my art in Times Square. I've had my art in London, and I always feel like I'm missing one when I talk about this, but
Girl.
those are the places that I want to see it. On my walls in my house or someone
Mm,
else's. It's not. It just, I don't even like the idea of having to pay for it. It's like it should
mm,
be free. Museums are free. Museums, public
mm,
art on the wall. I think graffiti is beautiful. Beautiful. I think it's
mm.
beautiful. Just to be able to see my art in the way that I want to see it is not always the forefront of a lot of artists' minds. And so my advice would be to get clear on what you want. Like get very, very clear. It's your art career. And no one else has the right to dictate how your career moves, what you want to see in your career. You choose, and once you choose, follow through, and every single thing follow through. If you get an opportunity and that opportunity doesn't really sit well with you, or this doesn't really align with your goals, say no. It's okay to say no, because the right opportunity will come and you will have cleared yourself and your time and your space and your resources to be able to fully walk into that opportunity, because it's the one that you really want. It's okay to say no, even as an emerging artist. You don't have to take on every project. I took one project about a year ago, and it wasn't for me. It was for another artist with another discipline, with another medium. It just wasn't for me, and I had to just close out that project. And at the time, it felt like I was taking an L, but in essence, I really had to free up that mental and emotional space to be able to receive some of these other opportunities that were coming my way that were much more aligned with what my goals were. And so, just in summary, just get clear about what your goals are and then follow through. Don't be afraid to say no, and do it with grace, of course. There's a way to say no to opportunities and not burn bridges, because you never know what is on the other side of that or how things may shift. But just being very, very clear and just really consistently creating space for the opportunities that you want, that are aligned with what your goals are.
Asia, that was very clear and very. I love the fact that it was so detailed, because you're right. What you said, I can take in, and not just in the arts, but whether you are writing a book, whether you're helping other people, whether you are doing interviews, whatever it is, you got to be passionate about it, and your time is what's valuable, and where you want to see. And I love your humble response, and I believe you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Sometimes people say things because it sounds really good and it sounds perfect, right? But I I hear you and I feel you and I believe you, and I hear when you say that you want your art to be everywhere so people can see it. And I love art. I mean, I don't there was a time where I felt like I took it for granted. I will say that. I went to Italy once and I was very young and I took it for granted. I wish I could go back. I really do, Asia. I wish I could go back. I would really take in some of the just the artwork, some of the richness of the culture. I wish I can do it all over again. I might one day, but I got a lot of kids and there's a lot going on. But but it's so true. And I love the fact that people do it and they have their art there for those of you and I to enjoy, to love, to be inspired and want to possibly pursue something in our own lives, in our own dreams. So
For something to be life changing, a lot of people think that, like, a drop in the ocean is too small to make an impact, but a drop in the ocean creates ripples.
come
It's
on.
going, no matter how big or vast the ocean is, one drop is going to create a ripple.
Yes.
And some of those very small interactions that people might have with public art installations, museum exhibits, and things like that, a lot of times they are intended to create a ripple effect
Mm,
that is life changing. And so
yeah.
I was just having this conversation with my son about things being life changing. It doesn't have to change the entire course of your life. It
Yeah.
may change one tiny thing that has a ripple effect on something else, and has something a ripple effect on something else. And that's what I want to see happen when people interact with art, museum exhibits, and things like that. It's sometimes just a very tiny spark that eventually will change the entire course of a person's life. And that's what I'm in the game for. Like, that's what I'm here for. 100%.
I love it. And I believe it shows through your artwork. Before I let you go, I just want to know the inspiration behind the picture. Choose one of them behind you. Tell me what inspired you to pick that particular picture and recreate it the way you did.
This is actually a part of a collection entitled Create Her, Constructing the Black Woman.
Mm,
This goes back to the story that I referenced with the professor that I had in art school, who consistently referred to me as the Black female fine artist. And so I sought to seek out Black women who had made significant contributions. I don't know what it is about me and these significant contributions, but I sought out Black women who had made significant contributions, who I was inspired by, and I studied them. And what I learned in that time was the easiest way to study people for me is study their face and paint them.
mm,
And so I did a 7-piece collection, where I did a full deep dive on each of these 7 women. I used 7 different colors, each of the colors representing one of the chakras. So it was a very healing experience all together. It was very healing. And this was the beginning of me really establishing somewhat of a signature style. I really enjoy painting like this. I enjoy painting portraits. It's the small nuances about people's faces that really get me or like pull me in. Like if your one nostril is bigger than the other, if your ears are not shaped the same, all of the things that people hate about themselves, the imperfections, I think they add character. I think they make you unique. And I'm always looking for uniqueness in people. This green painting here is Katanji Brown Jackson. This was the first painting that I completed of this collection. And when I painted this, she was going through the process of the interrogation of becoming the Supreme Court justice. And
Yes.
so it was very heart-wrenching to watch. It was an experience that we all kind of shared as a Black woman, to be in a room and you're overqualified, but they're questioning your qualifications, and to have to be poised and to have to maintain such a level of grace through an interrogation like that. It was so relatable. And so I painted through that entire process. Right behind me is Shaka Khan. I chose Shaka Khan because from the very beginning, she has a signature sound, right? You always know it's her. Like you eyes
Yeah.
closed, half asleep, you know Shaka Khan's voice. And
Yes.
it made me wonder when she first started singing
Yeah.
and she knew she had a signature sound, like what it took for her mentally and emotionally to tap into that and to stay in that. She changed her
Oh,
name and what that looked like. And so it was Shaka Khan. It really inspires me in an effort to stick to my uniqueness because she did, and
she
she
did.
made an entire career through her uniqueness.
She did.
And it's just beautiful. You know it's her. There's no doubt. And even if someone comes along and sounds like her, it'll be like, you sound like Shaka Khan.
Facts. Facts. Yes.
And then the right one, the red one, is Judge Shannon Friesen. She is a Supreme Court justice in the state of Massachusetts, and she's also a Marine veteran. And so I
Mm.
share a special bond with Judge Friesen because we're both veterans. I did serve in the Army. And so I've actually been able to like connect with her and have a couple of email exchanges with her. She's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. Just
Mm.
amazing, outstanding. But I chose her because she's Black, she's female, she's lesbian, and she's tatted. And she sits
Oh,
at the bench. And I
come on.
thought that was so cool because it's so authentic. She was so very authentic. She's stern, but she's also very warm. And she's kind. And she just, I don't know, I was just so captured by her when I was doing this research and looking into different women, different types of women, and what they do, what their jobs are, and how they show up in the world. She stood out to me like as if there was a light on her. I was like, yeah, this is, I want to get into more of this. I want to see what this is, and I want to see how this shows up in my life for me. And so through the project, working on the collection, I was able to see how each of these women's, whatever it was that was attracted, I was attracted to them about, whether it's their radiance, whether it's their authenticity, whether it's the fact that they cuss out loud or they have a signature style.
Yes.
I can see all of those things in me, and it really helped me to solidify my authenticity, and find my true voice in the process.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Okay, number one, thank you for your service. I love everything and I love how you told the story. I was captivated. I don't think I moved. And that's what it's all about, you know? I can look at the pictures behind you and I can come up with my own story, and to actually hear from the artist's mouth makes me just even be more, I fall more in love with the picture and with the story behind the picture. That's what it's all about. Asia, and that's what you're doing. And I love that so much about you, and I love your work. It makes, and it brings you right into the picture of the portrait that you're painting. So thank you for doing that, and it's so beautiful. Um, Girl, you almost got me in tears over here. Okay, I would love for you to, if you don't mind, just sending us, tell us where we can find you, where we can follow you. I know you don't like all that stuff, but we gotta find you. Tell us where we.
I'm on Instagram at the Asia Moon collection, but it's COLLXN.
Okay.
And my website is www.asiamoon.com. If you're not an Instagram person, you can send me a message through my website. We can chat about getting a commission, or if there's some prints or some work that you see on my website that you're interested in, let's talk about it. Because what I don't want is to like have this over controlled access to work. If
Yeah.
you want it, you should have it. I sincerely believe that. And if it's something that you want to see but you haven't seen yet, and you trust me to create it, I would love to have a conversation about it.
I love that. Now, Asia, do you teach classes if they wanted to get in touch with you to have you come in and speak to maybe young inspiring artists? Is this something that they could contact you through your website and book you for?
Yes, for sure. I absolutely love inspiring young artists. Again, I just, want to solidify the notion that you literally can do whatever you want to do. You just have to figure out what that is. And then don't take no for an answer from yourself, because why would you tell yourself no? That's so weird. But yes, all of that is bookable through my website. You can sure send me a message there. You can DM me on Instagram and we can talk about it. I am one of those people who loves sipping paint. I love sipping paints. I love them. I love hosting them. I love talking people through it. It's so much fun. So much fun. So yeah, message me. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. All my DC ladies who are listening, who have already been guests on my podcast, listen here. You guys are in the same area, so please get in touch with Asia Moon, book her for a sip and paint. And when I'm in the area, I'm going to stop by too. Okay. Go ahead and book one when I'm in the area. But anyways, Asia, thank you so much for being a guest here on our podcast, Woman Witness. I thank you so much for coming and pouring. You have filled me up. I'm so excited, girl. You may have me thinking I can paint here in a minute. Um, oh well, listen. I hold on, I'm gonna tell y'all this real quick, and I'm gonna get off. I had painted a picture. I went to a sip of paint. I painted a picture of a shoe, and it was supposed to be a Louis Vuitton stiletto shoe, honey. This Vuitton, it went like this, and then I tried to fix it, and then now it has a chunky heel, and it was supposed to be a straight. It's a hot mess, but I still have it hanging up inside of my closet. I love looking at it every time I go in there. I do like this. Oh, this is so cute. You got to turn your head to really get the full picture of how the shoe's supposed to look. But it's okay. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna try it again. Oh my gosh. Okay. And I wasn't sipping that heavy when I made it. Just don't have too much fun at the sip of paint. Okay. Until next time. Thank you so much, Asia, for joining us. And ladies, if you're listening and you love this episode and you feel inspired, get in touch with Asia. I will leave all her information in the description below. And if you want to book her, I'll leave that in there as well. And if you know somebody who would love to hear this episode, we ask that you forward it to them, that you send it to them. Follow Asia on social media. Follow us on YouTube or anywhere podcasts are played and heard. If you have Roku TV, listen to it on there. If you have Audible, listen to it on there. If you have Amazon Fire, listen to it on there. We are everywhere that you can actually watch and listen to something. Until next time, perhaps you were chosen for such a time as this to write, to tell, to paint your story, your truth. Until next time, bye bye.